can't believe we haven't talked about author newsletters before because they are so important, and we're gonna dive into it today. But before we do, I just wanted to say, oh my gosh, just a couple days, August 20th, guys. Let me just zoom in on that right there. Okay. All right, back to the video. I just thought it'd be really fun to talk about, number one, why they're so important and so valuable to you as an author. Number two, how to get people onto your newsletter and grow it. And then number three, some of the things that you can share on your newsletter. Okay, let's start with the why. Honestly, this is so simple and straightforward, but the answer is just that you own your newsletter, and so you have full control over it, whereas on social media, for example, or other places where you might advertise your book, you don't have control over it. So like if Instagram decided to break down again, like it did, I think last month, you can't reach anybody. If Facebook decides to do that same thing. But when it comes down to your newsletter, you control everything. So you have these people's emails, and that guarantees you access to their inbox as long as there's no spam folder issues. This is huge, you guys. I don't think we as authors take this as seriously as we should, because these are your super fans who most want to hear about your book, giving you permission, like direct access to their ear to say, hey, guess what? Here's a new book release. That's why I personally believe that it's super important to have an author newsletter. Enough said. Second thing we want to talk about is how to actually get newsletter subscribers, because I don't know about you guys, but in this day and age, we give out our emails a lot everywhere, and then we often get spammed by different companies or even different newsletters we sign up for, and sometimes it can just be too much. So it's actually getting harder and harder to get people to sign up these days, which, don't freak out, it's still possible. The best way that I've found, and that most people recommend to get newsletter subscribers, is to have some kind of opt-in. This is just a fancy word that means you've got something drawing them in. Other authors call it a reader magnet. And so it literally works like that. It's like a magnet for readers that draws them in, and it makes them opt in to wanting your monthly newsletter. There's tons of different examples out there. I definitely encourage you to actually go and follow some of your favorite authors and see what they do, because a lot of authors do this. You don't have to do this. You can just have a newsletter sign up, but it definitely is an actual magnet that draws readers in if you have some kind of opt-in that makes them want to sign up. So one of the biggest ones that I've seen is actually something to do with your story. So you could have a novella, you could have just a short story that displays your writing, you could have a tiny hint at a character. Like if you already have a book out, for example, when I have Evelyn and Jeremiah and Olive and Saul, I have thought about doing a short story about Olive and her background, so that could be an opt-in right there. Other things that authors will do is they'll have opt-ins related to their other businessy things. For example, in my current opt-in, I have like a publishing timeline checklist thing that I really need to give a better name, but basically it just helps you figure out your self-publishing from start to finish and all the steps in between, which is something that I get asked all the time, so I tried to help people out by helping them create a template. Some other opt-ins that I've made in the past and given out, temporarily, and then I put them on Patreon, was like my final steps to publishing checklist, my story Bible, other writing advice and tips like that could work for you. You get the idea. Something that you as a reader or as an author would want. And keep in mind that you want to be offering something that your target reader wants, because you want your newsletter to be full of your target readers who will actually want your books in the future. Those are the people that you're trying to reach, not just anybody. You don't need to target everybody, and you don't need everybody to sign up for your list. You just need your target readers to sign up for your list. And target readers are something that Mandy and I talk about in our Marketing for Authors series, but you can also Google it if you want to know more. One other way that I really enjoy inviting people to sign up for my newsletter is that right before I'm going to send out a newsletter, usually about a day before or 2 days before, or even sometimes an hour before if I am a little behind, I will post something on social media on my accounts to just say, hey guys, I'm sending out a newsletter in the next however long, and here are some of the things that I'm going to be talking about to pique people's interest and get them excited about it and get them to sign up. So that is the why and the how, but now let's go into the what, like what kind of things you can share in your newsletter, because I know a lot of authors feel like you know, I don't have anything to say, but you do, you definitely do. So the number one thing, of course, is to talk about your book. I do think I've heard recently some authors say to be careful what you share, don't go overboard because you don't want people to steal your story. But if you want to talk about little details that you think would get readers excited that doesn't reveal too much, I think that's super cool. The second thing you can do is talk about your writing process, because especially other writers are going to really enjoy just hearing how you do it and maybe hearing your encouragement. One of the biggest things that I hear for content here on YouTube and other places online in general is that it's very enjoyable for people to get content that is inspirational or motivational, educational, or entertaining. So if you can find stuff that fits into those three categories, where you're inspiring / motivating people, you're educating them, or you're making them laugh and be entertained, those are the kind of things that make great content. So that's a great place to start. And then personal stories, if you're comfortable. And some people say if you're not comfortable sharing your own personal stories, sometimes you can find other people's personal stories to share and uplift other authors or friends or whatever, you name it. If you want to see an example of an author newsletter, I would suggest checking out mine. This is just shameless self-promo here. And you can get an idea of what author newsletters look like. If you're interested, I will leave the sign-up information below. Go check that out. But also, I send out pretty much every month, so definitely just check it out whenever you see this video if you're interested in signing up. I would just really encourage you to start now, because the biggest question that I get from other authors is, when should I start? You know, do I need to wait until I have a book out? And the answer is no, you do not need to wait. And your newsletter is probably going to start out kind of like a snowball. It's going to be really tiny at first, and you're going to have to keep packing it in and taking your time and making it, you know, perfect and getting good at it, and it will slowly start growing and growing and growing. And that's just how it works. So newsletters start out small and it takes time to build, but it's worth starting now. If you have any questions on newsletters, pop them in the comments below. And I also might make this a topic for my Patreon social media club in the very near future, because I think it's really worth talking about. Don't go anywhere though, because I wanted to invite you to my live stream release party. We're going to celebrate the Stolen Kingdoms release. I'm so excited to be hanging out with good friends. We're gonna have tons of giveaways and prizes and so much fun. It's gonna be hilarious. I'm going to leave the information for that below as well, so that you can actually go click the link and set a reminder if you're interested. That way you won't miss out when we start. If you haven't pre-ordered The Stolen Kingdom yet, there's still time. You can go check out the links. I will obviously leave them below. This is an Aladdin retelling, and it's the first book in a 4-book series of fantasy retelling. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to support my channel, ring the bell if you want to be notified every time I have a video coming out. I have a lot of videos coming out this week. I am holding this book really strangely. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye!